Yesterday, we talked about aggregates and how to find those boundaries in the system by looking at processes and not necessarily the nouns in the system. And today we already talk about killing the aggregate. So this is the dynamic consistency boundary. Maybe you've heard about the articles by Sarah Pellegrini, Killing the Aggregate, and this is all what DCB is about, getting rid of this static boundary. So an aggregate is a static consistency boundary, and the problem is, if you define a static boundary, you have to know which boundary exists, and sometimes this isn't that easy. And dynamic consistency boundary allows this to be, well, dynamic. If we work with event modeling and we plan systems using event modeling, we do this step by step. We model one slice after the other, and we group those slices in chapters. Chapters is this blue arrow that is above all those slices. So this is just a grouping of those slices. A slice is nothing but a process step. So if you look at this, we have several process steps for our cart items chapter that define this process. Adding items, removing items, this all can belong to the cart items chapter. And what you also see here is the aggregate. The aggregate here is nothing but the event stream. Typically an aggregate sits on top of an event stream and guards the event stream, ensures the consistency within one event stream. This traditionally stands a little bit in conflict with the vertical slice approach we have in event modeling, because we want those slices to be independent. We want them to be self-contained. But the aggregate has always been this dependency that spans across all those slices. Not that nice. Let's assume we sell hardware and we sell tariffs. Now we talk about a real example. Let's assume we sell hardware and we sell tariff. And let's assume we have bundled products. And of course, bundled products are cheaper. We want to make good offers for the customer. And we have this one rule: a customer always buys the cheapest combination of hardware and tariff available. There can be multiple bundles with multiple prices. The customer always gets the cheapest one. So traditionally, we could have different streams in our system. There could be a stream for product configurations, there could be a stream for bundle configurations, there could be a stream for tariffs and for hardware. Well, we don't know. If we work with DCB, technically, you can think of it as getting rid of all those streams. What we have is we have one continuous stream of events. Just what happened in our system, one event after the other. But if you want to make a decision, if you want to purchase a bundle, how do you know which events are relevant? If all these events belong together and you don't have an aggregate that allows you to load all the events for a certain aggregate, how do you know which events are relevant for your decision? And this is where the dynamic consistency boundary comes in. How do we know which events to select? Well, we know from a business perspective. So for example, what we do is we define given, when, thens when we model systems using event modeling. The rule here is very simple. So given a tariff was added, given a hardware was added, and given the product configuration was bundled, when the customer tries to purchase something with tariff 1 and hardware 1, he will get bundle 1 because bundle 1 is the cheapest one currently available. Now what we do with DCB is we assign meaning to those events by tagging them, by putting them into indices. It doesn't really matter. There are different ways to add meaning to those events. We need a way to query those events from this big event stream. So if you work with Axon, for example, Axon has this new feature called tags. So we simply tag the events with certain capabilities. So here, for example, we could say, well, tariff added belongs to tariff, and the tag is tariff 1, and hardware added belongs to hardware. And the product bundle belongs to bundles, but also to hardware and to tariff. And that's the neat thing. Now we can just query, give me all relevant events for hardware 1 and tariff 1. And then I get all those events which are relevant for my decision. And this is only for one certain slice. So basically, technically, what you can think of it, we no longer have these big aggregates that span multiple slices. We have one tiny little tailor-made aggregate per slice. Every slice has its own tiny little aggregate. That sounds pretty good, and now what you can do is you can just define for each and every slice which are the events which are relevant, and you can also change this after the fact. If later you decide, oh, for this decision we need more events, you can just add more tags and you can just adjust this one single slice. One question that comes up immediately is, but where is this one place I can look for? So until now I had the aggregates, which allowed me to have this grouping of all those events. Well, this place doesn't exist anymore. DCB removes this place. You create these places dynamically. And this is really a fundamental shift. This is a mindset shift, this is a technical shift, and how this really looks like in bigger application, that is something to really find out. DCB is just getting started. The first projects are getting started. It's really interesting to see where this will lead us, but I think we're all lacking a little bit of experience how this really works at scale and how this really helps at scale. I'm really looking forward to use this concept, and it's just another tool in the tool belt. In the end, these tags mimic the same thing that an aggregate is. It's just a grouping of those events. Remember what we defined yesterday. An aggregate is just a bunch of validation rules with a name. These rules, these processes, they don't go away with DCB. It's just a different approach that allows us a little bit more flexibility, and I think that's a good thing. Let's see where this leads us. Any questions about that, feel free to add it in the comments.